the San Juan Jazz Society. Catch the Jazz Jams for free at 7 p.m. every Wednesday in the Heart Space behind Studio 116. Weekly live jazz performances in downtown Farmington. 7 p.m. Wednesdays in the Heart Space behind 116 West Main Street. And catch more jazz between 1 and 5 p.m. every weekday right here on KSJE Farmington. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, which is officially baby-friendly. This evidence-based initiative is designed to support mother-baby bonding and optimal infant feeding practices by upholding the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding. San Juan Regional Medical Center, officially baby-friendly and serving the Four Corners since 1910. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. "11 minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Friday morning, September 13th. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Nicklin, and thanks for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM here in San Juan County, New Mexico, 103.3 FM in the Durango, Colorado area. And good morning to those of you joining us worldwide from our website at ksje.com. And a special good morning, too, to our viewers who are watching the program live on the KSJE YouTube channel and Facebook page. We're glad that you're all with us this morning. We have a busy morning coming up, so let's start maybe with the weather forecast. I want to tell you a little bit about the weather today. Sunshine here in Farmington, a bit cooler than it's been, the high 85. A little warmer tomorrow with a high of 87. Then things cool off quite a bit on Sunday with a cloudy day and a high near 80. A good chance for some rain showers early next week on Monday and Tuesday with highs in the mid to upper 70s. So coming up in the next few moments, my guest this morning from the Farmington Public Library, Flo Trujillio, is standing by to talk about a great event that is coming up in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. And we'll have a special guest joining us from the New Mexico Museum of Natural History in Albuquerque. We'll be back with that in just a moment. Then later on, we will round out the hour with a look at prep sports as the school year gets underway. Wally D is going to be joining me here in the studio this morning at about 8:50 a.m. And then don't forget, Mick Hess will be here roving with the arts next hour after the news at 9 a.m. And today Mick is playing selections from The Sound of Music on this Friday. So enjoy that while you're listening today to KSJE. At noon, of course, it's the Cop Shop with FPD, the Farmington Police Department, and Chief Hebby will be here, as well as Public Information Officer Nicole Brown, and former Public Information Officer Georgette Allen is joining the team this morning on the show at noon at 12:06 here on KSJE. And then, of course, don't forget about our weekly storytelling program, again, produced with our friends and partners at the Farmington Public Library, Cuentos, Hana, and Tales, today at 12:30 on KSJE. So when I'm speaking about the library, let me introduce my guest who is here with me this morning. The always wonderful Flo Trujillio is here. Good morning, Flo.
Good morning, Scott.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, we're happy to always be here.
I appreciate you coming in. And then we have a special guest also joining us from, as I mentioned, the New Mexico Museum of Natural History in Albuquerque via Skype this morning. Thomas Williamson, paleontologist, is joining us. Thomas, good morning.
Good morning.
You can hear us okay?
Yes, I'm clear.
I'm always amazed when the technology works, so thank you for being with us, and we'll get back to you in just a minute, Tom, so stand by. But it's exciting to have Flo Trujillio here to talk about this great event that's coming up soon at the Farmington Public Library, and it is a fossil fiesta.
Yes, it's a fossil fiesta.
Okay.
And it's in partnership with the New Mexico Museum of Natural History, who wrote the Lineage Outreach Grant, with the Natural Museum, the National Museum of Natural History at the Smithsonian. So we're very happy to be able to be partners with this.
Very nice. And so it's coming up Saturday, September 21st.
September 21st, and it begins at 9 o'clock until 2 o'clock. We will have an evaluation process between the hours of 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, and then we're hoping to open up more of the virtual reality, which I can talk about a little bit later on, beginning at about 11 o'clock.
Very good. And so obviously this is all about fossils and dinosaurs and what's left of them, right?
Well, it starts with the past, and
Yeah.
yes, it is about fossils. They will be holding a lot of fossils. They will be able to make connections, but the fossils are not real. They are 3D printed. Isn't that amazing?
That is
so
cool.
now they can create these kits that go across the nation to be able to highlight this program.
Very cool. And so let me bring Tom Williamson into the conversation here. And Tom, when we talk about these fossils, you're coming up for this event, I know, in a couple of weeks. And so talk to me a little bit about your work with the museum there in Albuquerque.
So I've been a curator here for over 25 years. I started working here in 1994, and I was a student before then. So I've been with the museum for a long time. I've been conducting a lot of paleontological field work, mostly up in the Four Corners area, for about 30 years.
Okay. Well, and so tell us a little bit about why this area is, I guess, so rich in your work, because I know we have a lot of fossils, and I'm not talking about the old people like me that live up here. It's even older fossils that you have, right?
Yeah, very old. So Farmington is right next to, or partly within a place called the San Juan Basin, and this extends up into Colorado. And it's just a big basin that accumulated sediment for about 100 million years. So there's a 100 million year long record of sedimentation, and a lot of that includes the fossils that build in there too.
Interesting. And so, and of course, this was all part of an inland sea, if I'm remembering my ancient history correctly. And so there were a lot of animals and dinosaurs and wildlife that were kind of congregating around the water source from in this area too. Is that part of what attracted them here?
That's right. And so, yeah, the inland sea, the Western Interior Seaway came right across New Mexico. So Farmington was beachfront property for a lot of that period.
I knew it. I'm just off on my timing if I wanted beachfront property, but very interesting. And so what kinds of fossils have you been working with and have been found here? I know there's some pretty notable ones, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I mostly have been collecting dinosaur fossils, but I also work on the fossil mammals. That's kind of my area of expertise. So dinosaurs and mammals from about 75 million years to about 60 million years ago.
Okay. And how big were these animals? I mean, how can you describe them to us? Are they compared to anything modern that we have today?
Well, the dinosaurs, of course, some of them were very large. So we have Alamosaurus. It's actually named from Alamo Springs up there near Farmington. And that was one of the largest dinosaurs. So that would have probably weighed about 60 tons. So about as much as an entire herd of elephants.
Wow.
And it goes down to, I find little mammal fossils, and mostly we find jaws and teeth of those. And but some of those get larger, probably about the size of like a small cow.
Okay.
So kind of a range in sizes of those. And they're not closely related to modern animals. So we're trying to actually figure that out. How are these animals, how do they fit into the family tree of mammals?
Right, and that is open for a lot of discussion. I know even today with all the work that's been done, it's still kind of an evolving theory, is it not?
Oh, yeah. I mean, science is very exciting. It's we're constantly learning new things, and so we're adding to that knowledge.
And do we think now that maybe the dinosaurs had more in common with modern birds, maybe, than reptiles and things like that, or is that still evolving?
It absolutely, dinosaurs are closely related to birds, especially some of the later dinosaurs, and like Tyrannosaurus rex is fairly closely related to birds.
Interesting, but they didn't fly, of course.
There were dinosaurs that could fly that were not birds, which is strange. But yeah, correct. T-Rex could not fly.
That is strange. They're very interesting, though. But thank you for being with us. We'll get back to you in just a moment. But Trujillo, I want to ask you a little bit about. You brought in some things to show us too about this conversation, right? When we talk about dinosaurs and birds and what we're learning, right?
Yes, we'll be doing everything from elephant evolution, whale evolution, and of course birds in flight, which is what Tom was talking about. And I do have my T-Rex here. He will be making an appearance.
Little smaller version in real life. He's not a one-to-one.
Something a little more safe.
Yeah.
He's part of the theropod dinosaurs, which means they're three-legged, and of course
Three-toed.
Three-toed,
Yes.
and three-legged. Thank you. And also the connections that are made back to the birds, and so
Right.
we want to be able to create that lineage so we can find out how all of these birds have a distinctive connection.
Interesting. Okay. So he's here, and you brought some birds too, right?
I did. We're going to
Right.
be looking, right now I have the pigeon.
Yeah.
And we will actually be looking at the anatomy of a pigeon and beginning with that and talking about the keel. And of course, he probably knows all about these wonderful little connections here, but also about how they have the elevated shoulders, which makes the difference in the evolutionary relationships to make the dinosaur of the T-Rex. So there is a lot of distinctions that we will use using
Even
a
the-
tree board.
Even the lowly pigeon.
The lowly pigeon is
Wow.
where a lot of it is connected to in the anatomy.
Interesting.
And the tree board is what we're going to be using. The tree
I'm
board
gonna
is
show
the
this, the Flo brought
diagram.
in. If you're-
Yeah,
as I
that is the
stick the
diagram that
microphone.
scientists use to determine the evolutionary relationships and of all living things. So the connections that are made there will use the characteristics along the way in the little diagram, and it will break down how we got to our hypothesis. And we will be recruiting lead researchers, which are going to be assisting and helping the paleontologists, which are our lead researchers also. And hopefully both of them will be working together to be able to determine the answers that we
Interesting.
have.
Okay. Tom Williamson, let me bring you back
Yeah.
in here to talk a little bit about what Flo was just mentioning about our friend the pigeon and their relationship to dinosaurs. But it's a fairly straight line, is it not?
Yeah, so all modern birds are dinosaurs. They are a member of this clade, this group of dinosaurs we call theropods, and they're the only surviving dinosaurs today.
Really? Interesting. But yet they're not as big as, of course, the dinosaurs were, and so obviously something happened during evolution, I suppose.
Right. So, yeah, there's some dinosaurs today, of course, are among the very smallest terrestrial vertebrate animals, hummingbirds.
Right.
It's pretty amazing that you could go from dinosaurs that weighed 80 tons down to something that just weighs, a fraction or a few ounces.
Right. But I guess that's a
Yeah.
great study in evolution and survival of the fittest and all those other types of phrases, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very, very cool. And so, Tom, you're coming up with the group, and so when you do this, is this the first time you've traveled around with this particular exhibit, or have you done this before?
It's the first time I've traveled with this exhibit, but I give public talks or I talk with groups of people quite often about the work I do here and about evolution and other topics.
Got you. And tell me how important it is to you and to the folks there at the museum in Albuquerque to get out of Albuquerque once in a while and take some of these things around the state to share with other communities and other students and adults.
Well, I like to go to areas near where I actually conduct research, so I work so much around Farmington. I really like to let people in the area that are adjacent to where I work know about the natural resources that are right in their backyard.
Right. And for both you and Flo, the question for kids, it always seems something about dinosaurs. It just attracts kids, maybe adults too, but I think for the most part, if you say the word dinosaurs around kids, their eyes light up and they really are fascinated by these animals.
Yeah, I guess in a lot of ways I'm a kid that never grew up, since I still love dinosaurs and I still continue to work on them. And I, got a perfect job. They pay me to go out and collect dinosaur fossils and study dinosaurs. So I'm a very lucky person.
And that's very true. And Flo Trujillo, I know when you talk about dinosaurs there at the library, don't the kids just chime in and wait on your every word, hang on your every word?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, my very first summer reading program was Avoid Extinction Read. Isn't that fun, Tom, also?
Yeah, right.
So we highlighted a lot of what we have in our area. And one of the questions that we get asked even now is the Bistihevorosaur going to be making an appearance? The Cieli, is that what it's called? Is the Greek word with the Navajo Meaning
Yeah,
the new
Bistaki
dinosaur.
versus-
Bistaki, thank you. I never know how to pronounce it. I can never remember the exact terminology. The kids can. I can't.
Right.
Right, yeah, kids pick up the names.
Yes.
It's natural at it.
Now, I do know thesaurus, thesaurus from the library, but one of the things that we really find very fascinating is that the kids do connect museums and libraries, and that after they visit something like the Stand the T-Rex, which we are encouraging everybody to do. Of course, he is on loan from the New Mexico Museum of Natural History at the Gateway Museum, and it's free of charge. Go and check that out before you come to our event. Then you get a little, better understanding of dinosaurs, and you get very hyped up also. Getting them to go and see Stand the T-Rex and then coming to the library and making the connection with books is always very important.
Very true. That's very true. And it's great, again, another great example of how the museum shares some of its collections with other sources in the state, for having the big T-Rex at the Farmington Museum.
Yes, what a treat. And thank you so much for doing that. I think if we could have 3 or 4 of those around the community, that'd be fabulous.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yes.
That would be amazing. And Tom, let me ask you a little bit, too, about these giant dinosaurs that are discovered. I mean, there haven't been too many, or have there, here in the Farmington area of these large-scale dinosaurs, or are we just not aware of them, or I'm not aware of them?
Well, we don't have very complete specimens of some of the bigger ones, like Alamosaurus. We have parts of them.
Okay.
Tyrannosaurus rex, we think, has been found in the Farmington area, but just based on very scrappy kind of fragmentary material. We have fairly complete skeletons of dinosaurs that are a bit older, maybe not as well known. We have several skeletons of Pentaceratops, which is one of the horned dinosaurs.
Right.
And Bistaki, of course, we have a beautiful skull of that dinosaur.
Interesting. And yet, with so many, but obviously there were more dinosaurs around than the bones would tell you, right? I mean, they've just gotten destroyed over time, or just haven't been found yet, or buried, or taken, or ripped apart and taken off somewhere else.
That's the nature of the fossil record. You only find little bits and pieces most of the time. It's very rare to find complete skulls and skeletons, and we're always looking for more.
And I guess that's what makes this area so unique, in that it was in the basin, because a lot of these things maybe are closer to the surface than they would be further inland, I guess, after all these eons and eons.
Yeah, one of the great things about looking for dinosaurs in New Mexico is we have these fantastic badlands. So a lot of people, they avoid those areas because there's not a lot of vegetation, but those are the areas that paleontologists love to go to because there's so much erosion going on that new fossils are continuously being exposed. And
these is erosion of layers that are hundreds of millions of years old, I suppose, or tens of millions.
Yeah, in some case, yeah. The places that we're looking are in the Bistidanas Wilderness area, for example. Those sediments, they kind of straddle the boundary where the dinosaurs go extinct. So that's one of the few areas in the world where you can study that in great detail. So it's a really amazing area. The geology of the Four Corners area is absolutely fantastic. Interesting. And so for someone like you who does this for a living, and I guess for others across the world, they travel here to study this, don't they? Because it's so unique. Absolutely, yeah. People come from all over the world to study our collections, the fossils that we've collected from here, and then some of them, especially people come out to accompany me to look for fossils, and some of them have different areas of expertise, so we kind of work collaboratively to try to unravel the evolutionary history of lots of these animals. Great. And I always am fascinated about the stories you hear about maybe a teenager or somebody out on a hike, and they're in a creek bed, and they look down and they pull out something, and it turns out to be this ancient dinosaur bone or tooth or toenail or something that is amazing, and folks are always amazed by the discovery. That happens more often than not, doesn't it? It does happen. It happens quite a lot. People send me pictures of things that they've come across out in the field, out in the Badlands, all the time. Okay, and I guess I should correct myself. I don't think dinosaurs had toenails. I will just make that correction. Flo Trujillo, you have another friend with you, and so let me ask you a little bit about him, her.
Well,
I can't tell.
It, I think.
It, all right.
The mammoth,
Yeah.
of course, everybody likes the woolly mammoth.
He's very woolly.
So, yes, he is, and he is from,
Little
of course,
squishy.
our partners at the Smithsonian Museum. We won't be using this replica, but we will have some wonderful little 3D replicas that we will be talking about elephant evolution. And the questions that we're asking, the kids will engage in a lot of the science skills. We want to make sure that they get a lot out of this. We're hoping to, as I mentioned earlier, build some budding paleontologists, maybe some little field researchers as well, along with lead researchers. So when they work together, what we want to do is we want to talk about the elephants. So really, elephants, we can remember the woolly mammoth. So can you tell me maybe the most current elephant that you might see around? That's what we're going to kind of get to.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
those hypotheses
Right.
are what we want to have the kids talk about and discuss, and hopefully they'll check out a book too to find out more about it.
I bet you've got plenty standing by for them, right?
We
if
have
they
a
need
great
them.
we have a great exhibit, and we have some that the museum let us have, and we purchased a lot from the Smithsonian as well. So when you come in, we do have a wonderful display on the wonderful fossil fiestas.
Wonderful. Very good. And Tom Williamson, let me ask you a little bit about the woolly mammoth and its connection to modern day elephants. I mean, they look fairly similar, but they were different, weren't they?
Yeah, and we talk about woolly mammoths a lot, but actually the mammoths that live down here, we call them imperial mammoths.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
They were quite a bit larger. They're larger than modern African elephants.
Wow.
And they went extinct just a few thousand years ago. So they were common animals across the landscape in North America, and they went extinct probably about 7,000 or 8,000 years ago.
So that would have meant they would have been maybe obviously around at the same time as some of the early humans or Neanderthals?
They were around with modern humans here in North America.
And so they were hunted, I suppose, or at least avoided if you didn't want to mess with them?
Yeah, probably both.
Okay.
So yeah, we know that people hunted and ate them, and maybe that drove them to their extinction. We're not really sure about that.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. And so again, remains have been found in the Farmington area of these mammoths, correct?
Absolutely, yes. All over the state.
All over the state. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, Flo Trujillo, this is again another partnership, as you've mentioned, with the New Mexico Natural History Museum and also the Smithsonian Institution out of Washington.
Yes.
They've made these things available, right?
Yes, and the Twin Cities Public Television is also a sponsor, along with the National Science Foundation grant. And so we're very grateful to be able to be partnering with this. It's a great opportunity in Farmington to be able to experience the first time that this exhibit is traveling around the nation. There's only 6 other sites that this will be going to, and we're one of the evaluation sites. And we're actually the first one. So I really want to put us right on the top of the map there and keep us there.
Let's hope we get a big crowd, right, on September 21st.
Absolutely, and I really feel that if you like dinosaurs, you're really going to be able to engage in this hands-on activity. We will have a lot of wonderful programs that are going to be set up by the New Mexico Museum of Natural History, where kids can do some other activities. We will have Indiana Bones, who will be doing a little puppet show.
I'm sorry, you said Indiana Bones.
Indiana Bones.
Okay, I just want to make sure I heard that right.
He will be doing a puppet show also for the young kids, so that way we have something for all the families. So when they're rotating around and enjoying the exhibits and also being part of the virtual reality, and boy, you have just got to come and see that and find out what a connection is with the Pacacetus and find out what that has to do with whales and deer.
Okay.
And so that is another lineage that I think Tom is shaking his head. He knows all about it, and it is fabulous. But you get to experience that in virtual reality.
Interesting. Okay, which is 3D, and you got the goggles on.
You
and
wear the
you're
helmet and
immersive.
the goggles, and you're just waving at the air.
Okay, very interesting. Well, it's all happening at the 21st at this event,
On the
correct?
21st at the Farmington Public Library. As I mentioned, it starts at 9 o'clock, and it'll go on until 2 o'clock that afternoon, but we will be doing evaluations from 9 to about 11. So if you want to come in and you really want to hit some of the areas, come in, sign up for the virtual reality. That's going to be very limited basis, but we do want to make sure that people get the opportunity to experience it as a family and at least have some of them try it out.
Okay, and to sign up, do you do it ahead of time or the day
Well,
of? Or
on
what?
the day of when you come in, we'll
Okay.
start taking signatures when you walk in. The thing is that virtual reality for the public will not start till 11, but they can still do all of the other activities. We're going to open up the library like a museum. This is what's wonderful about having a partnership with museums and libraries. Libraries are very different from what museums offer. There's Explora, and then there's the Museum of Natural History, where there's a lot of continuous hands-on. We only do that when we do our makers or when we do our make-do fairs. So right now this is an opportunity for us to try to engage and work together and collaborate or partner with the museums.
Terrific. Well, we're looking forward to it. September 21st, 9 to 2 p.m. At the Farmington Public Library. And one thing I wanted to ask Tom about, too, Tom Williamson, while we still have you with us, is this idea of whale evolution. And with our inland sea, did we see many whales in modern-day New Mexico, or what do you think?
No whales here.
Okay.
By the time whales had appeared, the inland sea was gone. The sea receded from New Mexico. And whales appear about 10 million years after the dinosaurs go extinct.
I see.
But the interesting thing is where whales come from. So for a long time, it was thought that whales were kind of distantly related to most other mammals, but genetic research, and then later this was supported by some spectacular fossils from Pakistan. Whales are most closely related to hoofed mammals.
Really?
It turns out that their closest living relatives are hippopotamuses.
Wow.
That it's currently living now.
Right. That's amazing to me, right? Because you definitely wouldn't think that just from first look, but obviously you need to dig in a little deeper and find out this information. And that's, I guess, the fascinating part about that we're still learning these things even today, when these things have been studied and studied and studied, yet with the new technology and genetics, as you mentioned, it really is unlocking a lot of other that used to be mysteries.
Yes, that's right.
Very cool.
So that's how, science is constantly advancing and giving us a better understanding of the natural world.
Right. But I do suppose that in this inland sea, you could certainly find a fish fossil or two, right? There were fish in this water.
Yep, we have fish. We actually have some large reptiles, Cretaceous sea monsters, these animals called mosasaurs and plesiosaurs. Those have all been found in New Mexico.
Wow, okay. So my beachfront property would not be good for swimming, is what you're telling me, with these things swimming around.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Very good. Well, it sounds like a great exhibit, Flo Trujillo. We're looking forward to it. And again, it'll be September 21st at the Farmington Public Library, correct?
Yes, and please come in and please join us. It's on a walk-in. You don't have to come in and stay the whole time. But if you want to use VR, please come in and register, and then you can leave if you have to. Go have some breakfast and then come and join us for all the activities we have.
All right. Very good. 9 to 2.
9 to 2, and don't forget to check out books.
Okay. You've got lots of them there, I know.
A lot of them.
And I imagine there'll be a big run on dinosaur books and fossil books.
I'll tell you, we had to order some additional books because our displays, just advertising this, has been just flying off of the shelves.
I bet they have. So that's
Who doesn't like dinosaurs?
I know. Everybody does.
Did you have a favorite?
I think the T-Rex and the bigger one, which is Brontosaurus, I believe. Tom, am I right?
Yeah, Brontosaurus, also known as Apatosaurus.
Okay,
Apatosaurus.
That's right.
Making his debut also will be our Velociraptor, which all the kids really like because of Jurassic Park.
Yes.
But there will be lots of dinosaurs that they can use in the lineage outreach that we're going to be providing.
Okay, so hands-on.
Hands-on.
Learning and fun.
Skills. Key science skills, and it's going to engage families in learning about paleontology and evolution of all living things.
So if you have a child in your family that loves dinosaurs, you need to bring them to the library.
Bring them. It's going to be a blast.
Okay. Flo, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much. And Tom Williamson, thank you for joining us from the New Mexico Natural History Museum there in Albuquerque. We appreciate your time as well.
That was my pleasure.
Thank you very much. Tom Williamson and Flo Trujillo, my guests here on KSJE, everybody, and I'll be back with much more in just a moment. The time right now is coming up on 8:38.